I'm here with Matt Hilton from Red Wing Software. And Matt, we spent this morning talking about managing the details, getting rid of that shoebox of receipts in order to better manage our farm profitability. You guys have a whole suite of tools that can help producers do that. Can you talk a little bit about some of the farm accounting software you've developed at Red Wing?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Red Wing Software, we have accounting specific for agriculture that, as Paul was alluded to this morning, does allow folks to manage their operations a lot better than just provide tax information for lending purposes, really allow them to dig in and find out where their financial stability is. As was discussed this morning as well, things happen and people panic when things get bad, but don't manage correctly when things are going well. So now would be the time to start managing, since prices are up a little bit, before you start going backwards into the time frame there.
That's a really good point. And I think it was Kurt here in this last presentation was talking about the challenges that come when we get good times, because we do start to see prices increase. We see the need for financing rise, the ability to lean on that banker and provide quality information to your lender so they can understand what's happening on the farm continues to grow more importance as these prices get higher. Matt, talk to us a little bit about, for our listeners or our viewers, our participants, I should say, who have joined us today virtually, if they're like me, and their accounting system is a little outdated, and I'm horribly embarrassed to say so, but it's a weakness I have, and it's because it just bores me, and I hate doing the work. Sure. Talk a little bit about what it's like to move from an antiquated system to something more technologically advanced, something like you guys at Red Wing can bring to the table. What do I need to do to get on the winning team here and prepare the kind of data that my banker or my accountant are going to want to see?
Well, having something, even if it's antiquated, at least was a good start. Moving forward from there, we have very good tools and training. We've designed the system so it will allow people to start at a very small level and kind of grow with the system to be able to get in and manage your operation more in depth than using an antiquated system like you currently are using. So we have tools in place for that. We've tried to make it as easy as possible. Our staff is very good at assisting folks and answering questions on how do I get to the next level, step-by-step process. Obviously, the more organized you are to start with, the better results you're going to have in the long run.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that you got a great staff, and it's a staff that can help walk people through. Give us a little background on Red Wing. Of course, you guys are not some foreign company. You're right here in the heartland. Give us a little bit of the details.
Well, we were established in 1979 specific for agricultural accounting software. And obviously have gone through a lot of iterations of technology since 42 years ago. We have 42 years this year. Our staff, very little turnover, so they've been around a long time, so they really understand the questions. Like you said, we're a local company in Red Wing, Minnesota, so we have been around, and this has been our main focus. We are very much involved with the Farm Financial Standards Council and ASAC and all of the other organizations that have been for a long time.
Matt, I want to ask you a question here. As we think about our viewers and the folks here carrying on conversations at the live in-person event, remember, if you're not signed up for the business summit that happens tomorrow and Thursday, you can still get registered. So do be sure to hit up farmfutures.com and get signed up if you're not and you want to make the road trip to Coralville. But Matt, one of the things we continue to see is a move into, I guess we'd consider them smaller operations adopting technologies that are successful for the big dogs. Can you tell us about some of the scalability of your software? If I've got 100 head of cows and I've got an 80,000 head feed yard, can both of those folks use your programs?
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. We don't limit anything. You could be a 20-acre organic farm, or you can run a 700-mile wide ranch. And it doesn't really matter. We have both of those. We run the entire spectrum of really any industry. So it is scalable based off of what you want to use. There's obviously additional modules available for folks that may, have a little bit larger accounting staff because they're doing things like a packing warehouse, things that just a producer wouldn't need. So we could fit any range of operation. We have multiple options available for that, including payroll. Some companies need it, some companies don't. Obviously, that was just talked about in this last session, and that along with managing payroll costs. So with all of that integrated into the accounting, it's very easy to get reporting out where you can find those gaps, as they were just talking about here in this last session.
You know, as we think about payroll, and you work with producers and folks in agriculture all across the country, I imagine this isn't the first time you've heard this, but I continue to hear more and more what a struggle it is to find labor, what a struggle it is to find consistent labor. When we're thinking of a payroll system that has to deal with workers changing, subbing in, filling in, maybe day workers coming in for a day and then leaving, and, you know, maybe going on down the road, how does that work in a system like yours from Red Wing? How easy is it to put new workers in? And, you know, if you have had that turnover, swap out the system.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, like day workers, we'll use that for an example. We have a company that uses our payroll system where they're an actual H-2A contract laborer. So they will send, you know, groups to different farms for 3 or 4 days, move them on to others. We've worked with them to be able to move employees from one entity over to the other relatively easily. As far as adding on new employees that may just be there for a day or two, as the example that you had provided, you can put templates for an employee in. A lot of those employees, you know, may work in the same state. You know, a lot of their, like H-2A, for instance, there's not a lot of setup that needs to be done for those employees, so they can build a template and then just copy it, put in some of their specific information, and move forward from there. They still have the history of all of the other employees for their records, and that's true with any industry, not just like the H-2A contracting, but that's always been the biggest challenge with people in payroll, and that aspect was not being able to easily set things up. And obviously with the longevity we've been in the business, we listen to our customers to find out what they need and not hand them a product that we think they should need.
That's perfect.
We want to hear what they have to say, and we have weekly meetings to go through and enhance the software to go with their suggestions.
Yeah, with what the people need, you guys have the capability to build.
Correct.
That is very cool. Now, one of the things that I know we've touched on this morning so far, I understand here post our break, we're going to be digging into accrual accounting. Matt, agriculture is one of the few industries that has used cash accounting for forever, but we're seeing more and more pushback. At least I'm hearing it at bankers' conferences. They're encouraging their producers to go towards an accrual model. It is more accurate. It's more reflective of the business as a whole. For producers who have gotten comfortable with cash accounting, that's how they've run their operation for years, and their banks may be pushing, or their credit unions perhaps pushing them into accrual. Can you talk a little bit about what they might expect as they transition towards the more modern accounting style of accrual? Is that something you can help them with the switch towards?
Yeah, and actually, if they have a basis and they're used to doing it that way, it's very easy within the system to be able to just start putting those components into place to do accrual. It still does allow you to get information out on a cash basis for tax purposes as that's needed. So they can be run simultaneously where everything's put in accrual and information can be pulled out, either accrual or cash. So some consultants may want to see the accrual side of things. The big advantage, like you had mentioned with accrual, is the management of information. It's not just tax information. It's getting into your, in that example before, the labor costs, or what am I making per acre of corn, or, you know, what type of information or what inputs can I scale back on? And that's going to be the big thing with as far as the accrual switch, but it's really relatively straightforward to move over, and it's not that difficult.
You know, that's a really fascinating point. A lot of the analysis Kurt was just talking about, I imagine what we're going to see from Ashley and probably Paul later on in the day are going to be based off accrual. And I didn't realize it allows you to be more specific, or at least more accurate in your forecast. That's a benefit of accrual accounting? It
is definitely a benefit. It also helps with your budgeting and financial analysis, and allows you to really dig into those numbers a little bit further. And like I said, doing the switch the way software has evolved is very easy. It's not like doing it on the ledger books back in the day, and
or even in Excel.
Yeah, because a lot of human error can go into formulas in Excel. It's a lot of extra work. It's a lot easier to just have push button reporting that allows you to analyze the operation and get that information out accurately.
That's fantastic. Matt, you're here with your booth here for the live in-person events, and you also have a virtual booth set up for our attendees who are virtual. That will be available until September 1st, so do be sure to check that out. Get out there and networking. Matt, as you're here talking to folks, what are you excited about? This is the first event probably you've been to in a little while. Is this good to get back in touch with farmers?
Yeah, I haven't done an event since the 1st of February 2020. that first weekend. So it is nice to see people again. Obviously, the middle of summer, as was mentioned earlier with people, probably isn't an ideal time for farmers to attend a conference, but the turnout here is pretty good comparably. But it is nice to talk to folks and kind of see how things are going, you know, with just being able to communicate over the phone for the last 15 or 16 months. You don't get a real, I guess, face-to-face opportunity to really see what's going on in the industry. Following the markets is one thing. Talking to people that are actually doing it is totally different.
That's a really good point. The numbers in black and white are what they are, but the impact that those numbers have on producers, on their families, on their communities, that you can really only pick up in person.
Yeah, correct. And it's been great to see people and be out and about again. That's for sure.
Well, we really appreciate your partnership here, Matt. That's helping bring this event to fruition. It's helping ensure that all of our viewers, whether they're here live in person having those conversations or joining us virtually, are able to participate and bring this information home. Matt, thank you so much for Red Wing Software.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet.